everyone, and welcome back to my monthly show, Call Sheet, where I talk to different industry professionals about what it is they do. Today, my guest is the incredible Michael Solomon. He is a DP extraordinaire. He's a wonderful cinematographer. I've known him for a few years, and he's great.
I try.
I remember when you and I met. You shot a thing for Megan Camarena years ago that I did. Was that
think that's
when
we met.
But I knew who you were before then or something.
I feel like I had reached out to you about maybe a photo shoot or something.
Yeah, maybe so.
Before that.
Yeah.
But the first time we met was on that show, and I was very impressed.
With my Lord of the Rings knowledge?
With your Lord of the Rings knowledge.
Thank you so much. That's the best compliment I could get.
It is very rare to come across someone who's actually even read the books. Most people don't even know there's books, which kind of hurts my soul a little bit.
Yeah. To be fair, I did do research the night before because I was I was on this show that Megan did that was like a debate, like nerd debate. I don't remember what it was called.
Greater than, less than.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And so I was debating Gandalf versus Dumbledore, and I was in it to win it.
I felt pretty bad for your opponent.
Well, yeah.
It was very one-sided.
I'm not going to say I won, but I did. So I am going to say it. Anyway, and then you so kindly shot our Kickstarter video for Poe Party, which is so beautiful. I'm like, thank God. Because everyone's like, wow, that's a great Kickstarter video. And we're like, we just made it look good because Michael made it look good.
Well, I'm a sucker for anything, period. So
yeah, it's so fun, right?
Yeah.
It's so fun. Well, we love you and we love working with you, so I'm sure it's not the last time. So, Michael, do you want to tell us a little bit just what sort of sparked your love of this and how you first got into it?
In college, I was actually a photographer. That was my part-time job, so to speak, and how I made my money on the side. So I really fell in love with cameras and lighting and composition and the whole artistic side of it. But I actually went to school for finance and economics.
I was going to ask, what were you actually studying?
So nothing related at all to photography or cinematography. And then right before I graduated, I actually had a couple friends in the film school because I was at USC.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of, on a whim...
I forgot that we were both USC people.
Yeah. On a whim, I went and PA'd on one of their films. I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is like photography, but on a much larger scale.
Totally.
So loved it, fell in love with it, but decided I wanted to be an investment banker instead. Great choice. So obviously not doing that anymore. I did that for a little bit and then realized that I hated it and I couldn't do it for the next 40, 50 years of my life.
Totally.
So I figured I would rather go be poor and happy instead. So I pursued the film industry, left, and just kind of dove right into it.
Yeah, how did you sort of get in and learn about all this? I know absolutely. I mean, I've been on quite a few sets, but I know nothing about lighting or cameras or any of that.
Yeah, so I knew from the start that I wanted to be in camera department just because of my history with photography, and I've just always been fascinated with camera and lighting, so camera was just kind of the natural area for me to end up in. So I actually started as a second assistant camera, which, if people don't know, they're the main support role for a camera department. They, most recognizably, they're the ones who will clap the slate at the beginning of a take and keep track of that. But they do so much more than that. They keep everything organized. They're in charge of just making sure everything goes smoothly and everything's where it needs to be. So I did that for a little bit. Did a lot of work for free, which I have mixed feelings on working for free. It's hard because sometimes you need to get experience, but you should always know what you're worth. So I second AC'd for a while. Then I basically pretended like I knew how to first AC, which what the first AC does is their primary responsibility is to pull focus. Which, if people are unfamiliar with, when you take a photograph or are filming on a vertical plane, so from like the camera to this wall, maybe this much will be in focus, or if you're shooting a film, sometimes only that much will be in focus. And the first AC's job is to kind of move that in real time by knowing the distance, with actors hitting the mark, the camera's moving, the actors are moving, to have to keep it that exact spot in focus.
That to me is a crazy job.
It is an insane job.
I don't know how people do that.
First AC's, I think they have probably the hardest job on set, and they are so incredibly invaluable just with what they bring to the table, just from a technical standpoint. And then they also kind of are the de facto head of camera department. So I pretended like I knew what I was doing with that for a while.
Wow.
I told people that I was a focus puller and a first AC, and kind of the epitome of faking it until you make it. So I did that for a long time. And then I got very lucky. I ended up connecting with a cinematographer who essentially became my mentor and really took me under his wing and kind of taught me everything I knew about lighting and explained everything, camera theory, lighting theory. And from that point, I just tried to shoot anything that I could, you know, friends projects, and just kind of working your way up from the bottom of, you know, these free whatever. And then again, just kept on faking it until you make it, until you end up with a budget and able to shoot stuff, and kind of just took it from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now you're doing a lot, I feel like.
Yeah,
You work a lot.
things have been good lately. I've been doing a lot more commercial lately, which has been fun. It's an interesting world.
Do you have a certain thing that you prefer to shoot or that you like shooting?
I love period, sci-fi, anything that's not now.
Yeah, I get that.
I
get that too. I think everything is modern.
Yeah.
Like, so many things are just modern and like normal, and that's fine, but it's just so fun when you get to do something that's like not in that.
Music videos are also great too, just because from a lighting standpoint, lighting doesn't have to be motivated. It can be crazy, it can be weird, you can just go way off the deep end, and it's a little more fun.
So how do you get jobs?
Whew, okay, so that is the tough part. That is the $1 million question. When I first started out, it was very much jobs off of Craigslist, jobs off Mandy, Production Hub. I think Studio Pro is another one. So for probably about a year and a half, almost everything came from that. And then it's this very, very gradual snowball effect. Eventually you will meet one person who likes your work, and then will continue to call you for work, and then they'll refer you to someone else. And then you start working with other people, and on days that they can't work, they'll refer you. And it just becomes this very much word of mouth and referral type business. There is always kind of the nature of freelance that you freak out because you have nothing scheduled and nothing queued, which is a problem that never goes away. No matter how successful you are, you're always waiting for that phone to ring for someone to call you. But it is nice to make that transition from actively searching to having people call you, but it does take time to get there.
I would agree with that too, from an actor's standpoint. That's been a similar, I mean, I still obviously go out on auditions and stuff, but the more you work, the more people you meet, the more often you'll just be asked to do things as opposed to having to go out and seek them yourself. Yeah. So what does a typical day on set look like for you?
Oh, man. It's very different.
Yeah.
I would say, though, usually, I almost feel like 75% of the work you do is done before you even step foot on set, just through pre-production and your meetings and kind of talking about what you want to accomplish. And as far as I go, I take a very technical approach to creativity, which I know is kind of a counterintuitive thing, but I'm very much the type of person who'll have my lighting diagram set up. I'll have my shot list. I'll know exactly how I want to shoot something before I step on set. I mean, obviously you have to be flexible with your director and your producer, because at the end of the day, you're still working for them and what they want to accomplish. So you have to be able to make adjustments on set, or if something goes wrong scheduling wise or on the technical side. But usually I like to have the majority of the work done before I even get on set. But once you get to set, it's usually you have a quick little powwow with your first AD, the director, or the producer, kind of talk about what you guys are going to do for the day. And then after, you know, we're all on the same page with what we want to do, I'll connect with my gaffer, my key grip, and kind of just with all the different department heads, kind of let it trickle down so everyone can take care of their department, so it's a cohesive thing. But mostly working with the gaffer, I think, is the biggest thing, just because they're your right-hand man when it comes to lighting. So talking to him, make sure that we get the scene lit the way we want, making sure art department's on board and happy with how everything looks. It's so much more collaborative than I think people give film credit for. There's so many people that have to come together to make something great. I think a lot of people will sometimes attribute it to, oh yeah, you know, it was just a brilliant director or a brilliant cinematographer. And they don't realize that, you know, sound is so important. Art department is so important. Your grips, who are able to rig things, are so important. Makeup is crucial. There's so many people that need to come together to make it happen. So I think when you're on set, it's just so important to be as communicative as possible and as collaborative as possible to make sure that everyone's coming together to make something great.
Do you have a particular camera that you love shooting on, or?
Ooh. That's tough. It's tough because cameras change over so frequently nowadays. I will answer this question eventually. I think a lot of people place too much of an importance on the actual camera. At the end of the day, it's another tool. You can get great results whether it's a Canon DSLR or an Arri Alexa package that's $150,000. It comes down to, again, all the other departments on set. You know, if your lighting's great, if your art department is great, if you have everything in a controlled environment, you can make something look absolutely fantastic on a Canon DSLR. That being said, my personal favorite is the Arri Alexa. They have a couple different models. The most common now is the Alexa Mini. I love it just because it has great dynamic range, which means it captures everything from deep dark shadows to really bright highlights, and everything kind of stays exposed. Great skin tones, color science. It's just a beautiful camera with the way it renders images. Another popular one is Red, which you'll see a lot. Now it's the Epic Weapon and the Red Weapon. Those are great cameras too. I think the Alexa and the Red are kind of utilized for different things. The Red is more known for their high resolution. They can shoot in 8K now.
Wow.
They're a little more small and compact, which was a bigger case before the Mini, but it's almost like when it comes to these expensive cameras to treat them like film stock. Sensors are similar to film stock in the sense of each one's going to render an image in a different way, and it's really a personal preference thing. And then in the mid-tier, you have cameras like the Canon C300 Mark II, the Sony FS7 or F5, which are great cameras again in their own right. Tons of great things have been shot on them. If you have a better camera, you'll be able to get better results, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee better results. A lot of it, again, will come down to your lighting and your art department and your direction and a million other choices you can make. It's just something that will make your life easier if you have a nicer camera.
Totally, absolutely. Do you have any like ultimate goal that you feel like you're working towards that you haven't accomplished yet, or something you really would love to shoot someday?
Sure.
I don't know.
I'm very much the type of person who I'm never satisfied with where I'm at. There's always more to do. There's always somewhere else to go.
I feel that.
And I've been really fortunate, especially in the last year or 2 years, to check a lot of things off of my goal list. You know, shooting a major commercial, getting to shoot a period piece. There are still definitely some things I'd love to do. I'd love to... I still haven't done television yet. I've done more so features, commercials, music videos, that sort of thing. And I would love to do a feature-length period piece, which I haven't had the chance to yet, just because it's a genre I've always loved, especially if it was medieval fantasy, because I'm a huge medieval fantasy nerd.
Hopefully we get to work on that one together, because me too.
Swords, bows.
So awesome.
Magic.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Cool. Well, I have a couple questions from our lovely viewers, if you don't mind to answer.
Would love to.
What are some favorite low-budget tricks for lighting?
Oh. I have tons of these. Okay. So when I was first starting out, I had no money. It'd be great because people would send me links to music videos that would cost, you know, $250,000. Like, I want it to look like that. Right. Like, great, what's our budget? They go, like $300.
And you're like, well.
So definitely had to improvise a lot. And I think one of the biggest things is you can actually emulate a lot of what you can do on a bigger set with smaller things as long as you understand lighting theory. One of my favorite low-budget tools is just a simple Chinese lantern. It gives you this nice, beautiful, soft light, and then you can use black poster board to flag off that light to create shadow, contrast, that sort of thing. You can also use black poster board to create negative fill on a person's face, or white poster board to do the opposite thing, to bring in some fill. One of my other favorite things was if you go to Home Depot, you can get those like big work lights, those big orange work lights, and you just get that and you push it through 2 shower curtains, and you essentially have the equivalent of what would be like a $30,000 lighting setup on a bigger set. Wow. You can even use household lamps that you have lying around. It comes down to understanding lighting theory. You know, if you want, even with your cell phone, if you're out at dinner somewhere and you want to take a nice picture of someone, if you just get a white translucent napkin and you hold that napkin kind of close to that face and move the cell phone far away, you're going to have a nice, beautiful, soft light from a cell phone flashlight. So it's more so, if you understand lighting principle and theory, you can apply that to anything that emits light. I would also say the biggest tip I got when I was first starting out for lighting is people tend to go overboard with adding lights. It's much harder to approach it with the mindset of turning the light off and creating contrast and creating depth by having less light. So I think one of the rookie mistakes when people are first starting out is they just blast as many lights onto a set as they can, and you know, like, we have to have an edge light, we have to have, you know, a key and a fill, and they get into this very rigid mindset, where if you focus more on shaping light, you know, with black poster board or a flag, if you actually have a flag, you can get a lot more creatively better results, I think, if you just start taking away light as opposed to adding it.
What advice would you give to somebody that's looking to get started in this?
I would say shoot whatever you can.
Yeah.
My biggest advice is get a camera. It doesn't have to be an Alexa. It doesn't have to be anything. Even if it's just a stills camera, get something and just really observe lighting and composition. Go take as many pictures as you can, experiment as much as you can. When you're out with your friends at dinner, look at the lighting on their face. They're going to think you're really creepy and weird. But just study it. You know, is light hitting the back of their hair? Where is that light coming from? Is that a large source? Is it a small source? Is it far away? Is it close? And just really be hyper observational about lighting in an everyday setting. And then again, just take pictures, take video, do whatever you can to experiment and grow and learn, because ultimately you can read any books, you can watch however many videos. It just comes down to experimenting and finding out what works for you and what you like, because at the end of the day it's a creative position, and everyone's going to have their own flair and their own take, and it's just a matter of finding your own voice.
Well, thanks so much for coming on and talking to us about what you do. Is there anything else you want to leave our viewers with? Anything else you want to say? You good?
Happy shooting.
Happy shooting. Where can people find you if they want to follow you?
I would say on Instagram, you can find me at the Cinesol, which is the, and then CINESOL.
Perfect.
I have lots of camera pictures if that's your thing.
Yes, it is true. It's a great follow.
I try to keep people entertained.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you guys enjoyed that, and until next time, go out and create stuff. That's better than be cool, so you're welcome.
This video was made possible by Ed Powell. Thank you, Ed, for supporting this and many of my other projects.